Podcast City Network.
You are listening to The Rip Griffin Show. Make sure to subscribe to the show on all the major podcast platforms. Here's your host, Rip Griffin.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this Saturday special of The Rip Griffin Show. And I'm excited because my guest was the very first guest on The Rip Griffin Show. That was around episode 7 or 8. So coming back to the show, the host of the Astros Baseball Podcast, Rob Fontenot. How you doing, man? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, buddy. It's good to be back. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a while. You've been doing this for a while.
You know, it was, like I mentioned, you were the very first guest. And I was kind of thinking about this earlier, kind of one of those things that reached out to you, see if you would come on the show. We were able to get something together, kind of similar to what happened today. Reached out to you, things worked out. We're able to get back and talk on some Astros baseball. So kind of one of those things. It's exciting to bring you back on. Like I said, first guest ever. And definitely has grown since then. And you've been doing some great work as well, covering, talking Astros baseball, having a lot of great guests on your show as well. So, but let's talk some Astros baseball. You've kind of been, doing some things, talking to Bill Brown and those guys that have been with the Astros for forever. So, what's it like being able to talk to those guys and kind of get their perspective on the Astros and be able to pick their brain as to their team and whatnot?
When you talk to guys like Bill Brown, or even when you talk to, Jake Kaplan or anybody that's associated with the Astros, or even the guys from the radio, the one thing you notice is they know so much more than we do. As podcasters, they have so much information. But, you talked about talking to Bill Brown. He was like, I think he was the last guest I had on. And when I get through talking, I'm just amazed. I'm like, I can't believe that I've got to the position where I can talk to someone like that. So it's a lot of fun.
I bet. Getting to talk to those guys and to just get their perspective on baseball, that's got to be just truly fascinating within itself because, like you mentioned, they know so much about the game itself. They've been a part of it for so long. And to be able just to pick their mind has been I can imagine it's probably been very refreshing. But so let's kind of touch on the Astros because there's a lot of things that haven't been going on right now is in the way of course, with a lockout going on. So there's nothing going on, no free agents, no negotiations. The only thing that's going on right now is the Rule 5 draft because players are starting to that weren't what you would call protected have gone on to different teams. We just heard this week that Ronnie Dawson, who made his appearance with the Astros last season, has now been basically the Reds took him and now he's gone. So that kind of takes away some of the outfield depth for the Sugar Land Skeeters going into next season. But let's talk about Carlos Correa because he's the big name that's a big free agent right now that still hasn't signed, wasn't able to sign before the lockout or the CBA expired. So what are your thoughts on the possibility of the Astros bringing back Carlos Correa and re-signing him?
When free agency started, when the end of the year started, 0%. But the longer it goes, I don't know if you've heard the rumor, but that's late the last few days, the rumor that he has a bad back and it's scaring teams away. It's just kind of like the contracts people have been getting. It seems more and more like the 10-year, $340 million contract that he wants. I think maybe my guess is that the Astros like top bid would be 7 years, about 240.
Okay.
And I think that would be the middle meeting point. And the longer this goes, I think Correa, could go down to the 7 years because 10 years is a lot. And we love Correa. He's the voice of the team. He speaks up for us, after the scandal, but the guy has a 270 batting average. He does show up in the playoffs. He's the best shortstop. I'll put that out there, in the field. And then, but also, before this season, he had like a 60% I want to call it attendance, but he only played in like 60% of his games. And this last season, 2021, was the first time that he played the entire season without getting hurt. So can he continue to do that? Will he get hurt? I don't know. I mean, I'm not into big contracts. I guess I got Astros mentality on the brain, but I'm not into giving someone a 10, 13-year deal.
No, it doesn't. When you look at a lot of these teams that have gone on and done these big time contracts, they usually don't last. Usually the team will either they struggle to win, they struggle to bring in other players that will help, the team get better. And most of the time they end up trading these players. Most notably that comes to mind is Alex Rodriguez when he was traded from the Rangers to the Yankees. And I don't like these big contracts either. I think you kind of, if you're a player, bet on yourself. Bet on 5, 6 years, 7, and see how you do. Because if they don't, the team is more than likely going to front load that contract. And then because your production is going to decline as you age, obviously. That's just nature. I mean, but like Corey Seager, 10 years, $325 million with the Rangers. That's going to be a lot. No opt-outs, nothing like that. I don't see Correa getting anything like that as well. I'm more on the 8 years, $280 million, which will put him above, or $35 million, which will be above the AAV compared to Francisco Lindor. But so let's say if he is to walk, let's say if Correa signs somewhere after this whole lockout, who do you think is going to replace him? Do you think the Astros go internally? Because there was an interview earlier this week on Alex Bregman. We don't know if he's actually going to possibly move, but there are some also notable free agents out there. Trevor Story, Andrew Simmons. Who do you like as far as if the Astros were to go out and do a free agent signing?
I like Simmons.
Okay.
Because you replace, because the Astros are so deep. As far as batting, as far as hitting, offense, they're so deep. And you could get a Simmons and put him down there at 8. You could bat him 7th. And it's just, I think our future is Jeremy Pena. And I don't know if you were going to bring that up later, but
yeah,
the guy's a beast. He's really good. And if you go out and sign Trevor Story or whoever else is out there, you're kind of blocking this kid from coming up.
Right.
So I think it's someone that you can sign. I mean, if somebody will sign a 1-year deal, but even if you sign a 2-year deal, you could have Pena come up this year, get a little taste, and then trade the guy. Not Pena, but the guy you sign.
Okay.
But I think Simmons is a guy that they could sign for a 1-year deal. I think that's possible, and you won't miss a beat in the fielding. He's one of the best fielding shortstops out there.
Right. That's that's pretty spot on, because I think Jeremy Pena is going to be the future at shortstop as well. Didn't get to play much last season because he was hurt, but he's shown a lot of promise, especially down there in the Dominican Winter League. So he's been doing very well down there. He's got great range. Like you mentioned, the dude's a beast offensively. I got to see him play a little bit there in Sugar Land towards the end of the season in October, but I think he's the future as well. Bregman, there's been a lot of talk about Bregman possibly moving to shortstop. Now, he was on the Schwabcast just this week, and he talked about how he's been getting more into shape. They maybe figured out the soft tissue issues with his legs. So he's been training like he's going to be more versatile. Now, he said in 2018 and 19, he was a shortstop playing third base, but in 2021, he was just a third baseman. So there's maybe some speculation that the Astros are already kind of predicting that Correa is not going to be here. So Bregman could slot into that spot. How do you feel about Bregman moving to shortstop? Do you think he would be a great choice, or should he just stay at third base?
Because I've been following the Astros for so long, I'm used to seeing Carlos Correa out there. I'm used to seeing a tall, quick player out there. That's why I can see Simmons coming in. I just see Bregman. If you're old enough to remember Ron Say from the Dodgers, he was called the Penguin. He had like a Bregman type body. So
Okay.
old folks, anyone old out there, you remember Ron Say back when the Dodgers were good. But I mean, it's just hard to imagine him being a shortstop because I haven't seen it.
Right.
So that kind of makes it hard. But my question for you is, who would play third? Would they Diaz? I mean, who would play third? Yuli Gurriel? Can he play third?
Well, I think Yuli is playing third. I think that's his traditional position is third base. He's done it before in the past. As far as I want to say, it's been more like a game here, a game there, just to fill in. Diaz is probably a super utility guy that we have seen this season. Was hurt a little bit, but he might be the guy that I would say would fill into that role. Now, unless we'll kind of talk about this here in just a little bit, as if the Astros were to go off and maybe sign a high price free agent that could possibly fill in as well. But Diaz could definitely do it. I think that's kind of what James Click is wanting to possibly do as far as internally fill the position, figure out what to do later, like we were talking about with Simmons, because that could be a definite possibility. Just a lot of key different scenarios that the Astros could do to bolster their lineup and their rotation. Because, like you mentioned, it's still going to be a great lineup. I mean, no matter what, from 1 through 8. But third base is going to be key if Bregman is wanting to move to shortstop. That's what he played in college. I've heard he was very, very good in college, and then he made that transition to third base. I think it was in the low minors, I think. I don't know either. I'll have to go back and check. But
hey, so let me interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You know when they protected the guys from the Rule 5 draft, and they had, I believe his name's Joe Perez.
Yes.
Is that his name? I mean, he plays second and third. I mean, that guy's on the 40-man roster. If he does well, that's some pretty good flexibility there.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know.
That's the Astros have always been so good as far as development within grooming these guys up, and they've become superstars. George Springer, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve. That his story has been so great because a lot of teams just passed on him, and then he was so persistent, and the Astros finally offered him a contract. I think it was like $10,000 or something. It was something very, very minor. And look at him now. I mean, he's second all time in postseason home runs, only behind Manny Ramirez. So he's developed and he's become a icon in the Astros legacy as far as second baseman, that's a tough one because you got Craig Biggio there too.
Yeah.
So
you bring up the Astros, they're within, they have their players from within. And I don't know if you saw this, but I read a story the other day, and it showed the difference in the Cubs and the Astros. How they both kind of like just ripped it apart and started from the beginning. And they both won the World Series 16 and 17. But if you notice, the Cubs declined. But the Astros have stayed good, and that's what they said. It's because they're developing players. That's the difference in the Cubs and the Astros. So I'm pretty confident whoever they bring up. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to sign somebody long-term because I'm pretty confident in the guys we have in the minors.
One of the other things, too, is the Astros have been so well versed in the international draft and signing international players. I mean, that's how they got Yuli Gurriel. That's why a lot of these players want to come to the Astros. It's because of Yuli Gurriel. So that's another key aspect that the Astros have been able to do. And I think that's all stemmed from Jeff Luhnow. I think, when Brent Strom left the Astros and he was in an interview, he said a lot of this team has Jeff Luhnow's hands on it. You can see it. This is what he built, and this is why the Astros have been so good, is doing things that other teams are not doing as far as finding talent. And that's been the great thing that they've been able to do, and that they will continue to do with James Click at the helm now. But
Yeah, I think they picked up 3 new Cuban guys.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to
Yeah.
be all Cuban someday.
Hey, that's okay. That's what makes baseball great, because baseball is such an international sport now.
Oh yeah.
And so we're seeing it, teams doing it day in and day out now. They're building their teams through the international draft, and it's a global game now. We're seeing it especially over there in South Korea and the Dominican and Puerto Rico, and that's just great to see, because that's just exciting to see how the game of baseball is growing at such a exponential rate, which is fantastic. So, but one of the other things I kind of wanted to touch on is there was an article put out by Jake Kaplan today, who covers the Astros for The Athletic. And so there's been a lot of talk also too about what's going to happen with center field. Astros center fielder Jake Myers is going to be out for the foreseeable future going into the 2022 season, since he hurt his shoulder there in that ALDS against the White Sox. So what do you think the Astros should do? Should they possibly, because in the article it says that they're possibly moving Kyle Tucker over to center field. How do you feel about that?
Well, what's wrong with Chas McCormick and Jose Siri?
I don't know. I mean, when you look at it, especially on paper, that both Chas McCormick and Jake Myers are virtually the same player. I mean, I don't understand the whole concept of wanting to move Tucker to center. It doesn't make sense.
Did anyone sign Marte yet? He's always in the talks with the Astros. They were talking about him last year.
Yeah, he was actually signed by the Mets right before the lockout.
I'd be interested in reading that article, because, I mean, they said he would be out at the beginning of the year, but you have Siri, you have McCormick. I don't understand, unless you want to sign a big name. There's no reason, because neither one of those guys are a huge, if downgrade is a word, from Myers. I think Myers is the best overall.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I think Chas McCormick he's, in my opinion, earned the opportunity to play every day.
Yeah.
At center field.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I didn't even think anything of it.
I mean, Tucker can play. We saw him play in the World Series, but his natural position is right field. And you've got Chas McCormick that can step in. You've got Jose Siri, who's flashy beyond flash. That guy can cover some ground pretty quick. Can definitely do a lot of things in the outfield. He's definitely probably needs to develop a little bit more, in my opinion. But he's also a guy that can fill in to give McCormick a day off. But I mean, you've got who's going to play the corners then?
Yeah.
If you move Tucker to center, you've got Michael Brantley and Jordan Alvarez as well.
You could tell in the World Series, I was going to get to that too when you're bringing this up, but Alvarez was a liability when we were in the National League Park. That's my opinion. If people don't agree with it, that's fine. But to me, watching the game. So, I mean, that could be an option, but I don't think so. I mean, I don't know who I was talking to, but they said his future's first base.
Yeah. I really think so. Because I think he was, when he was with the Dodgers, I think they were working him at first base at some point. But yeah, it would make sense for him as far as health-wise, his longevity. There's always that issue. It always scares me when he rounds second to try to stretch a double into a triple. It scares me. It really does.
Yeah, it was amazing how he did, though.
Yeah,
he made some incredible slides. He was running around the bases, so his knees are good, but he just, I don't know, maybe he just needs more seasoning in the outfield. He was taking the wrong angles at balls, and he was definitely a liability. Definitely not Michael Brantley. You don't expect him to be that good, but
right. And there was some, especially in those National League parks, the outfield was so, especially in Atlanta, the outfield, especially left field, was so big, and having him cover that much ground, and especially when there's not a whole lot of room between the foul pole, the foul line, and the wall there in left field. I think there was a couple of times where he crashed into the wall. Definitely scary to see that, especially with him such a big guy. But yeah, I mean, who would cover the corners? Tucker to center field really doesn't make sense for me. It's great article by Jake Kaplan, but
Yeah.
because the kind of way he sets that up is if that were to happen, say Tucker moves to center field, and Alpha Ron is watching the show right now. It says Alvarez moves good for a big guy. Yes, he does. So
Yep, he does. Good call.
But yeah, the possibility of an Astros making a big splash in free agency, and this is kind of where I wanted to talk about, that whole situation with Bregman moving to shortstop. Do the Astros go out and try to make a big splash? Maybe sign a Chris Bryant, or if you find
that would move Tucker to center field,
right? And then, but I mean, no disrespect to Chris Bryant, but he's one of those guys that he's a great athlete. No, don't get me wrong, but
he can play third too, though, right?
Yeah, but he's also a guy that can play the outfield. He can play first base. There's also Nick Castellanos. That could be something that if Tucker were to move to center, that the Astros would sign Castellanos. Now, this is all hypothetical. This isn't, not for sure. But he could play that corner outfield position as well. So it's a lot of things that's very interesting. The Astros have a lot of things that they could do to progress. What do you think about the signing of Hector Neris in the bullpen?
I think it's good. I like it. I mean, we lost Graveman, who was a 91 ERA with Seattle, and he just didn't look invincible with the Astros. He even some innings when he didn't give up runs, he had stressful innings. He had guys on base. And I heard this guy has a problem walking batters.
Right.
But he strikes out like 32% of the batters he faces. He was 5th in Major League Baseball. This is all off the top of my head because I covered it on my show. He was 5th in Major League Baseball in appearances. He's the all-time saves leader, or he's got a record with the
I think
innings pitched, or he's got some kind of record that's with the Phillies. Now I can't remember. I'm bragging about remembering things, but I mean, he's a guy that is going to be there. He's a solid 8-year veteran. He's got like a 3.5 career ERA in the bullpen, and I think it's good. I like it. I like it a lot.
I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of Phillies fans just this past week, and they're sad that he's gone now, because even though a lot of the Phillies fans, they were very, hey, you can go. See you later. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. But as far as he was in the bullpen, and like you mentioned, he was the top saves leader within the Phillies organization for however long he was there. I think 7, maybe 10 years. So he's been there been with the Phillies as throughout his entire career, and now he's coming to the Astros. I think we got a couple new pitching coaches that are going to step up now that Brent Strom's now gone, that will be able to mold him, and I think they can harness a lot of great things, cut down on the walks, increase the strikeouts, do some things mechanically that will make him a top relief pitcher. Now, he won't be a closer or anything like that, because you still got Ryan Presley there, Phil Maton. Man, you know what? I was impressed with Phil Maton.
Yeah.
That dude, he is all business, and watching him in the World Series was, gosh, that was fun to watch, because he just
somebody had put like a meme or something online on social media, and it was 2 pictures of him, the same picture, and it's like, here's Maton giving up a grand slam or something, and here's Maton striking out the side, like, it is emotionless.
Yeah,
even killed. I like him a lot.
I do too. The guy's got good breaking ball stuff. It's watching him pitch was, I became a Phil Maton stan during the World Series, because even during that Red Sox series as well, and just watching him pitch was oh gosh, it was so exciting to watch him pitch. I'm glad the Astros have him for at least the foreseeable future. I think maybe he's in arbitration, so they've got him maybe for another 2, maybe 3 more years. So that's gonna be fun to watch as well. And then Justin Verlander. Hopefully, Justin Verlander will return. Oh, because we don't. What do you think about that? What were your thoughts on getting Verlander re-signed, but yet nothing happened?
Yeah, that's one thing I asked Bill Brown. Like me, I'm telling everybody, yeah, we got Verlander. We already got him. But we don't have him yet.
No.
He hasn't even taken a physical yet. He hasn't signed a contract yet. So he's not with us yet. But let's say they do get him. I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, as much as we love, because last year we had too many starting pitchers, which is now we have even more. Because I think Christian Javier should be a starter.
Right.
But there's no room for him now. And then you add Justin Verlander, and now you lose another guy to the bullpen, which I don't know who it would be. I mean, off the top of my head, because you have Verlander, then you have McCullers, Luis Garcia, number 3, Urquidy. Who am I missing? Framber Valdez.
Framber. Yeah. I think Framber will be your number 3. Yeah, going back to Phil Maton for a second here. Alfred writes in, Maton's spin reminds me of Colin McHugh with the little more
Did Colin
velocity.
McHugh sign with anybody yet?
No.
Let's get him back.
I agree. I think we need to.
Thanks for that comment. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Colin McHugh. That's another guy that needs to come back to Houston.
Do you know what do you think about them losing Brooks Raley and Yimi Garcia?
I really think that other than the current bullpen now, who's there that's lefty?
Blake Taylor.
So Blake Taylor. So I really think that the Astros need to be more diverse in the bullpen, righty lefty matchups and splits and whatnot. I really think losing Raley is going to, if they are unable to sign another lefty, I think we're going to see the effects of it, because having an all righty bullpen, or maybe, Blake Taylor's great. I think he still needs more development, but you got a guy like Brooks Raley that came in, was lights out during the postseason. Now he goes to the Rays, and a potential not division, but a AL rival, because Tampa Bay's become so good, and the Astros and Rays have met before in the postseason. So I really think we're going to see if Click can sign another lefty that come out of the bullpen that could pitch like Raley, then the bullpen's going to be solid. But I just hope there's no long-lasting effects with him leaving now. So
yeah, let's get the Snapdragons back together. Colin McHugh.
Exactly. I know he loves the city of Houston. I know he loves the fan base loves him. He's always very vocal on social media. He tried to come back last year or the year before, whenever it was, but definitely need to get him back in an Astros uniform. Will definitely be fun to watch. And then forget Verlander. So let me ask you this real quick. We talked about trades a little while ago. So say Christian Javier slots back in that starting rotation and has a lights out season. Do you think the Astros use him as a trade piece to maybe kind of bolster the lineup a little bit?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't. If you have especially like this guy, it's probably what it's going to be his 3rd full year.
Right.
I mean, if any of y'all like go to whatever website you have to do to look at the Astros roster, and you see all the awesome players we have that make $550,000 a year, it's surprising. I mean, Kyle Tucker, I can't list the list, but it's almost all of them. Like almost all of the pitchers, except McCullers, they're all making minimum. Almost the whole bullpen makes minimum.
Absolutely.
Alvarez makes minimum. Tucker makes minimum. McCormick. Like, it's a lot of people that don't make a lot of money. So if you have someone that can be in your roster, your rotation, and they're making they're making minimum wage, keep them.
Right. My concern is what when like Tucker and Alvarez become free agents.
Yeah.
They're gonna garner big time contracts.
They're gonna be the new Correa and Springer
Mm-hmm.
in the future.
Oh, I agree. Tucker's got that. Well, I want to say he's already there. He's a 30 home run guy who I think he hit 294 or something like that this season. So he's definitely one of those.
Yeah.
Has the potential to be a Gold Glove finalist and win a Gold Glove in right field. And then, of course, you got Jordan Alvarez, which I think, honestly, what I think will probably happen is we're going to see Alvarez probably become more of a go back to that designated hitter role.
Yeah.
That we saw in 2019. I think that's where lies the problem for 2021. Was he was playing the field more and just wasn't he still performed and he still did it at a great rate, but I think playing the field too much kind of hindered him, especially in the postseason. That's just my take. I think he needs to go back to that DH position.
Yeah. I mean, we still have Michael Brantley, and we had to rest him last year. So
Right.
Alvarez is definitely going to have to play some outfield this year, and probably mostly at home, or maybe when we go on the road against the NL team. But I don't know how much they're going to work on him to play first, but someone told me that's his future.
It makes sense. It really does, because even though he's a big dude, but I think
second team all MLB, him and Tucker. I don't know if you ever talked about that on your podcast.
Oh no, wow!
Second team all MLB.
Whoa.
Both of them.
They'll be first team all MLB soon. Yeah, but a lot of things the Astros need to do to, I think, still need to get better. You know, going to the World Series is great, but parades are cooler.
Yeah,
we love parades. And
the thing about the Astros is with Neris, their 40-man rosters at 40. Yeah. And they signed Verlander. Now they got to get rid of somebody. They sign any other free agents to add to the bullpen. They got to get rid of somebody else.
Right.
And I think, it's a very high percentage of the 40-man rosters pitchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
so I can see a trade coming.
I think that's another possibility. They're going to have to trade somebody, because somebody's within either Sugar Land or Corpus, they're landlocked. Especially if you got guys like Bregman and Altuve that are going to be there for the foreseeable future. Somebody's going to have to be traded somewhere. We saw
the only opening the Astro has is the shortstop.
Yeah.
Shortstop and the bullpen. That's it. There's no more openings.
Yeah.
Maybe third base if Bregman moves over.
That is true.
That's it. There's no openings.
Yeah, that is true. So, but the Astros, they continue to build upon, and they'll be successful come in 2022. So let me ask you this to kind of wrap up the show real quick here. Now, we are in a lockout, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Brian James just wrote in, Jim Crane should sign Jose Ramirez and maybe Trevor Story. Now, Jose Ramirez is a name that I've heard been thrown out a lot.
Yeah.
To possibly.
It just depends. If they'll sign 2-year deals, those are good picks.
Yeah.
I think the Astros are more likely to sign Story than they would Correa.
They'll get him for a cheaper price. Under $30 million a year. And they could probably sign him for that 5 or 6 years that they want.
There you go.
Because that's what they do. 5-year contracts, maybe 6. And they can get him for a cheaper amount. So definitely still has the same type of range like Correa, but the offense, it's a matter. You got the short porch there with the Crawford boxes, which will kind of play into his strength a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see, when this lockout happens. So let me ask you this real quick: when do you think the lockout's going to happen? Let's make a prediction. When do you think we're going to see some free agents and some baseball?
I believe after New Year's.
Okay.
Sometime in January, it'll be over.
Okay.
It could. That is also a question I asked Bill Brown, not to keep name dropping.
Hey, it's okay.
But he was saying the further it gets in January, the more that it affects spring training.
Right.
And the more it affects spring training, it's going to start affecting the fans. And he said, when there's a lockout and it goes too long and it interferes with baseball, you have fans, you got millionaires and billionaires fighting over money, and we as fans just want baseball. And they're going to start getting mad and saying, I'm not going to watch now. I won't ever say that, but
Right.
But the legendary Bill Brown, that's his answer. That's what I'm saying. I'm good at what you're doing. Here's a question for you. I'm not as good at answering them, if you guys can tell by listening to this. I'm trying though.
Hey, no, you're doing great, and I appreciate your honesty and your insight as well, because we got to come up with something to talk about during this no baseball movement, and it makes us kind of stir crazy, use the hands a little bit, just but I think personally, I see January 1st.
Ooh.
Yes, I think let's start the new year off on the right foot. Let's get this deal done. It gives the players time to kind of amp up their off-season workouts now. I mean, they're already doing that, but it gives them the time to be able to work out with coaches and strength and conditioning. And then you've got February coming around. Pitchers and catchers report the first week of February. You fall right in line, and then boom, your season's going.
Yeah. Another cool thing I saw. I haven't done a podcast all week, so I got lots of stuff to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
But what I saw today, Hank Conger, did you see that? He got hired by the Twins.
Former Astro.
Yeah.
Former Astro.
Isn't it amazing how we just love these guys forever?
It is.
Unless they go to the Yankees, then I hate them.
Oh. I always remember something that Ken Griffey Jr. said, that if the Yankees were the last team to offer him a contract, he would retire.
Yeah, that's real cool. I'm happy for Conger.
Yeah.
He's the first base coach and the catcher's coach. That's what he's going to be doing. I didn't
realize he's been that far removed from baseball, because I think he was it 2015 because the Astros went to the postseason in 15. They missed it in 16. So I think that was the last time he was on the team. And there was that video of him, Lance Colors Jr. kind of winding him up and him doing the
the robot or whatever. I love that guy. He was awesome.
Yeah, he really was, and he
wasn't the greatest player ever, but he, as a fan favorite, everybody loved him.
Absolutely, Mr. Personality there. But it's good for him to get back into coaching with the Twins. I didn't realize he kind of been coaching at various teams.
I can't remember where I read he was. I don't know if he was. These guys go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the Caribbean, Mexico, Japan, and all this, KBO. You never know where they're at, but they're all coaching, trying to get back. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. We were talking about Correa earlier, but where do you think he's going to go if he don't go to the Astros?
Well, so the Rangers are out.
Yeah.
Because they got Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon, but and then
they
the
got
Tigers,
Cole Calhoun and Gray.
Yeah.
I made fun of the Rangers earlier this year, saying, because they extended their coach's contract, their manager. I always call him coach on accident. And I was like, okay, I guess they're just extending this guy because he's the lame duck. He's the lame duck guy. I believe the Dodgers as well, because they lost Corey Seager and they like to spend money. So I agree with you, Brian. But yeah, I got lost because I'm reading Brian's.
No, you're fine.
Comment there.
But the Tigers signed Javi Baez. Now I heard something. I was talking to some people this week as well, that the Tigers could be a possibility to, because Javi Baez, he can play wherever.
Yeah.
That the Tigers can still go out and do the same thing that the Rangers did. Go get another high price, high profile free agent.
Yeah.
Bring Correa. You got Correa at short, and then you've got Baez at second.
What'd you think about Correa and AJ Hinch having brunch? Did you think it was a done deal? Detroit?
You know what? There was a lot of talk about, hey, come to Detroit. We're building something special.
I wouldn't mind. I don't want Correa to go to some team that I don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want him to go. I don't know. Would you like him to stay in the AL West? Would you prefer him to go to the National League? Where would you like to see him go?
I mean, it would make more sense for him to go to the National League because we wouldn't have to face him. Because only during the World Series, that would be the only time. But going to the Tigers, going to a team that is up and coming. Now the Tigers are a great team. They showed it this season.
Yeah.
I would hate I don't want him to go to a rival. I don't want him to go to the Yankees. I think the Yankees, even though as much as they talk negative about the Astros and whatnot, they say that they would be more receptive of him coming in, but I don't think they will.
They will.
Well, yeah, but
everybody instantly forgives all these players when they change uniforms.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what makes it frustrating. But yeah, I agree with Brian as well. The Dodgers are definitely a possibility for him to land because they lost Seager. There's a possibility that they might lose Kershaw as well. So they're going to need somebody that's going to be a high price commodity that could put more fans in the stands because some of their key pieces are leaving. So
yeah, I saw a rumor about Kershaw to the Astros.
Really?
But no. But I mean, we have too many pitchers for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Dodgers, dude. I'd almost bet money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking.
We'll see about this bad back that he supposedly has, though.
Right, exactly. Alfred writes in, Correa is being greedy. I don't think anyone is going to give him what he's after. He's a 6 or 7 hole hitter, in my opinion. Yeah, he is. I mean, that's
depends on who he plays for.
Yes.
Yeah. Astros, he's a 6 or 7 hole hitter until the playoffs. Then you move him up to 4. Which
that should have been done.
They waited too long.
Yeah. After Game 3 of the World Series, he should have been bumped up to the 3 hole. Bregman should have been moved down. But you know what? Yeah.
I don't know why they don't do it. I mean, why not? Out of respect? Forget respect. Let's win. I mean, you had Altuve and Bregman batting first and third, and one of them was hitting 100 and the other one was hitting 100. I mean, they weren't helping at all. Move them down.
Exactly. I mean, that type of situation would happen in the regular season. If a player is struggling, is pressing, doing whatever, yeah, bump them down.
It takes pressure off of them.
Yeah. Let them get their swag back.
When you could have somebody this is another thing that I've brought up before. This is probably from the 15-16 era. There was a time when Jake Marisnick was our 9 hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was killing it. I mean, he was doing so good. And then they moved him up in the order and he tanked. It's that pressure of batting up. I think personally that there's pressure being up there and there's less pressure being at the bottom. So I think it would help them to get moved down. Whoa.
Hello.
I think it would help them to get moved down, but what do I know? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean,
it's my opinion. I'm allowed to have one.
Absolutely. And it's we'll sit here and we'll scrutinize the lineup and whatnot, and this pitcher was left in too long, or this pitcher was taken out too soon, and why is he not batting third? Why is he batting 9th? But yeah, we kind of touched on this, but Alex Bregman, Brian writes in, should move to shortstop.
Alex Bregman.
Oh, should have walked. I don't have that one. I need to up my my bobblehead collection. Very nice.
I'm up for a trade.
See, I don't have any to trade, honestly.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good.
I mean, I got one for that my wife and the kids got me for my birthday. But so that's
Alex Bregman moves to shortstop. Who's going to play third? That was your comment down there.
Yeah.
You know who can play third? Taylor Jones can play third. Taylor Jones can play third, and he would be the tallest person in Major League history to ever play third base. And I love the guy. Dude, the guy was hitting. He was hitting like 333 that third time he came up last year, and he went down for COVID protocol, and that's when they called all the other guys up. Taylor Jones is good, and if I had to predict someone that would get traded, it would be him because he's going to go somewhere and tear it up. I'm telling you, not just because I know I'm kind of good, but he can play third. He plays third. Yeah. He plays third in minor leagues.
Yeah. And
there's
first,
an option.
He can be a first baseman too. If the Astros and Yuli Gurriel, which he still plays first base at such a all-star level already, but
he might be able to play third too. So hopefully Taylor Jones makes the roster this year. He kind of got that COVID messed him up. That wasn't. Yeah. That made me. That upset me. Yeah, I really like the guy. He's really cool.
Yeah, definitely a lot of great things when he kind of got a little bit more acclimated to being called up and being with the big league club. One guy that he's no longer with the team, but I don't know if I shared this story with you or not, but remember Robel Garcia?
Yeah.
So I saw him hit a walk-off against the Angels there at Minute Maid Park, and then I saw him hit a grand slam at Sugarland. So, I mean,
and now he's gone.
Let's see. So Alfred writes in, did Correa have a surgery on something? Not to mention the back issue also. No, he hasn't had surgery, but a lot of teams are hesitant to sign him to that big contract because of his back injuries that he's had in the past that has kind of kept him on the IL. So that's why he probably hasn't signed yet. I think one of the things I did hear was that if a team is willing to offer him a big time contract, that he would open up his medical records and let everybody take a look at it. So, well, we'll see what happens. It's the Astros are definitely a team that are in the mix to re-sign him. It's the years and the money, obviously. So, but when we don't have a lockout, we'll find out more. So
yeah.
But Rob, that's about all I got for you, man. I appreciate you coming back on. Like I mentioned in the open, if you're just now joining us, that Rob was the very first guest on the Rip Griffin Show, and I am happy that he was able to come on that time. Happy that he was able to come on this time and talk some more Astros baseball for y'all. So, but Rob, tell everybody where they can find you, the podcast, and all that good stuff.
You can find me.
I seem to have lost him. I lost Rob. He must have accidentally hit the exit button. So, but anyways, we'll kind of just keep going real quick here. Brian, Correa 7 years. That's a possibility. I think it'll be 8 years, 280 million is where, and we got Rob back here.
Yeah.
So I was just touching on Brian's comment real quick about the Astros re-signed Correa for 7 years. So, but lost you there, buddy, but I'm glad you're back.
I know. I don't know what happened. What was the question? Oh, everywhere. All you got to do is know my name. You can find me anywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Hey, you want to hear a funny TikTok story?
Sure.
My daughter recorded me suplexing my grandson, and I put it on TikTok. 2 million views.
Wow.
2 million.
I keep seeing these videos, but I mean, I'm not a part of TikTok, so I don't have anything. But
don't get on it. It's hard to get off. You'll kill time. I used to make fun of people for looking at TikTok, but it's pretty good. I'm thinking about having an Astros baseball TikTok channel.
Interesting.
I want to do what you do here, this video stuff, but
I think
I don't have a computer, so I don't know.
I think you can do this on TikTok. I'm going to research that after the show. So, but like I mentioned, thank you, Rob, for coming on. I appreciate you. The first guest on the Rip Griffin Show, back again, talking more Astros baseball. It's been a blast. Definitely do this more. And so that's going to do it for this episode. Guys, remember, you can follow this show on Twitter at Rip Griffin Show. And then you can, Hey, if you ever have any questions, voicemails, like we have a lockout going on. You have baseball questions, call into the show. That number is 210-263-3253. If you ever want to be a guest, talk baseball, head on over to the ripgriffinshow.com, click on be a guest and fill out the questionnaire, fill out the form. We can get you to be a guest, talk baseball. Love talking baseball with anybody. So that's going to do it for this episode. Take care, guys.